Hi guys, welcome back to Flora Fun and Food. My name is Lauren and today we are gonna make one more meal in a jar, and this time it is beef burgundy. Let's go. Okay, first step is to get some shallots prepped. So I am just taking off the tip but leaving the root and then slicing them lengthwise, and I'll show you why in just a second. So I'm only doing half of this recipe just because it makes a lot and meat is very expensive and I was spending $20 on the meat already. So she calls for 18 shallots, so I have 9. So now I need to peel these. And shallots grow kind of like garlic, so they do have sections sometimes, so they can be a little tricky. Okay, so now we need to just thinly slice our shallots, and I'm leaving the root intact just to help kind of keep everything together as I go. But I'm just making very thin slivers, and then I will cut off the root, and that gives me thin slices like that, and we're just gonna stick them in a bowl. I also need to chop 6 for the original recipe, 3 since I'm having it, medium onions. So I'm just gonna top and tail these, have them, peel them, and then just roughly chop them like that, and throw those in the bowl with the shallots. Okay, next up is the meat. Now I bought chuck roast. Like I said, it was almost $20, so we're going with half the weight. So this is about 3 pounds. So let's get this drained and cut. Now it said to pat dry the meat, so that's what I'm doing. There we go. Now we're not cutting any more veggies on this, so I can use my cutting board for meat now. Now this says you can either cut it into 2-inch strips or bite-sized chunks. It does want us to remove some of this excess fat here. We want to leave the marbling, but this is a huge chunk. So I'm just going to try and carve that off. So I think I'm just going to do bite-sized pieces. And it also says to cut off any silver skin that you might find, so all this stuff, it's not very pleasant to chew through. Okay, we're gonna get a Dutch oven on the stove and drizzle in some olive oil and let that get hot, and then we are going to slowly add in our beef to brown it, but we're gonna do it in batches so it's a little easier. All right, again, I'm gonna use this awesome fondue fork. It's so easy to get meat in there. Okay, our meat is not all the way cooked through, but that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and take it out and set it to the side. And we'll do the next batch. We're gonna add another tablespoon or so of olive oil for the next batch and get it all tossed in. All right, our second batch is browned, so we are now going to add 1 pound of bacon. Remember, I'm having it. Now we don't want this to go crispy, we just want to cook it through. And she calls for thick cut bacon, but this is what I had. Okay, I can't find my kitchen shears, so I just washed some scissors, but I'm going to cut this bacon up just because I don't think full strips is going to be a very nice jarring experience or eating experience. So we're just going to roughly kind of chop these into smaller pieces. Okay, our bacon is cooked through, just it's not crispy, and that's what the recipe says to do. So now we're gonna throw in our veggies and things. So we need 10 cloves of garlic, so I'm gonna do 5 tablespoons, our 3 onions and 9 shallots, 4 1/4 cups of mushrooms, and I'm using sliced. It would be 8 1/2 regularly. 4 cups of carrots, and I'm using frozen. Then we need 1/2 tablespoon of salt, about 3/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper, and my husband likes a lot of black pepper, so we're gonna do a lot. And we will just get this stirring and cooking, probably in 10 minutes or so. Well, I just reread the recipe and I added the carrots far too soon, so don't add the carrots until you've simmered it for an hour to reduce the wine, which we'll do here in just a little bit. So we may just have some mushy carrots, but that's okay. So we'll just make the best of it. So carrots go in later. So sorry about that. Okay, since I messed up and added the carrots too soon, I'm gonna kind of tweak this recipe. So she says to do all the veg except the carrots, and then put it with the beef, adding some wine and stuff and letting the wine reduce down for an hour with all the goodies, just to kind of get the flavor infused, and then add the carrots and do it for another hour. So I think I'm just gonna cut the time and just do everything for an hour all at once, and we'll give it a taste test just to make sure it's okay. But I really don't want these carrots to overcook, so they'll pressure cook in the canner as well, so I think the wine will get nicely infused into everything once we do that. So I'm gonna kind of cheat and do a little shortcut. So we need to deglaze this pan, so I'm gonna add all of this to a large stock pot. I'm also gonna add the beef and drippings to our stock pot. And then she calls for 2 bottles of Burgundy wine, which usually is a Pinot Noir. It's a red wine. So I'm gonna use about a cup of this just to help deglaze anything that might be stuck on, which since my veggies were so wet, we don't really have anything stuck. I'm gonna get the rest of the wine in now that we've deglazed, and I'm gonna let this reduce a little bit on its own. That way I'll kind of help cheat the recipe. So we'll get that going. We'll get that turned up high. We're also gonna add in half a cup of cognac. So this is 1/8 of a cup, so I need 2 of these. And then 1 cup of beef bone broth. So I'm gonna get this on high and get it bubbling and simmering before I add it to the rest of my goodness over here. Hopefully this works out. It'll be fine. It's gonna taste good no matter what, I promise. Everything smells delicious, so we'll get that going and kind of cheat it. Okay, I've got my wine, cognac, and beef stock to a rolling boil, so I'm gonna let this cook down for a few minutes just to kind of give it that head start since I goofed. I think I might even add in the beef that I can get out of here just to help infuse that flavor. Some of the veg too, that's okay. All right, this is boiled away together for about 10 minutes, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and just add it to the large stock pot and let everything kind of simmer together. Get this all mixed together, and then we need to let this simmer for an hour, stirring every 15 minutes or so. So we'll let that get going, and then we'll turn the heat down to kind of a medium heat, and then just wait. Okay, it has been 15 minutes, so we're gonna give this a nice stir. Wait another 15 and do it again 4 times with the hour, and then this will be ready. Okay, we have our preheated jars here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn our heat off and just give it a final stir. It smells so good. And then I'm gonna take my 2-cup measuring cup here and just dish this into our jars, leaving 1 inch of headspace. And then I'm just gonna use a chopstick to get any air bubbles out that might be hiding. And then we are going to take a paper towel with white distilled vinegar and wipe the rims. Again, this just prevents any fat or pieces of veggie getting in the way of the seal. And you can also kind of check for nicks and things like that in the glass as you do it. And then we're gonna go ahead and put our lids on finger tight. Now, if you're doing this on the stove with a dial gauge, you want to use 11 pounds of pressure. If you're using a weighted gauge, you want 10 pounds of pressure. And quarts are 1.5 hours, pints are 1:15 hours. But if you watched my other videos, you know I have an electric pressure canner. So we'll just get them in there. And I can fit 5, so that was perfect. I'm gonna get my lid on and lock it in place without the regulator, and then hit play because mine needs to heat. Then it'll vent, then I hit play and it'll process for 1.5 hours, and that is all I have to do. So we'll be back when this is cooled down and ready. All right, these are done. So I am excited to have yet another meal in a jar on my pantry shelf. and we're gonna do a taste test of all of these sometime soon, but I tasted everything as I was cooking it, and I know it's delicious. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and head over to my channel to subscribe for more content like this, and I hope to see you again very soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.